Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast, where we talk about why today's headlines are important for your success at work. My name is Peter Rahbar. I'm your first call on legal issues.
I'm Laura Brounstein. I should be your first call on everything comms and content. Hi, Peter.
Laura, how you doing? It's a beautiful day in New York.
It is a beautiful day in New York City.
Yes,
it is
an
iced coffee day in New York City.
Yeah, except for we said no iced coffees. We brought cocktails to the bar. What'd you bring?
Sort of like a very lightweight, dirty Shirley Temple. So basically like vodka, soda, a little bit of grenadine. Because I didn't have spritz materials.
Keep it away from kids type of drink. Mm-hmm. You know, don't mistake it for a Shirley Temple.
Exactly.
Well, I did make an Aperol Spritz, which is what we, talked about making. You didn't have the ingredients, apparently.
Let you down, Peter. Do you also have elderflower? Do you make a Hugo Spritz at home as well?
I could, but I didn't. And so, it's 70 degrees in New York. I just got back from Italy a few days ago. I'm in the Spritz mood.
How was your trip to Italy? Where'd you
wonderful.
go again? Was it all of you or just you and your wife?
No, it's a boys' trip to Naples. It was very nice.
That sounds like a lot.
It's good to get away from the American noise and to...
As you know, I was in Vancouver all last week. And, it was nice being in Canada for a week.
Yeah. Everybody thinks Carney is like the biggest stud on the planet.
Yeah. All the Canadians felt very good about him.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Oh my God, I did see a very funny meme that showed Justin Trudeau's career trajectory. And it was basically like model, DJ, Prime Minister of Canada, Katy Perry's boyfriend. It was like, one of these is different than the other.
Well, he was at Coachella with her, So maybe he listened to the podcast and heard.
There I said, that is what I want. That's what would happen to me if I killed babies. I would get sent to Coachella as my punishment.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, what are we going to talk about this week in this beautiful setting?
We are going to talk about toxic work environments. Shock me at some new media companies. And then yet another woman being pushed off of or out of Trump's cabinet. Meta being creepier than normal with their employees. And when your boss is a boomer about AI. And AI washing layoffs. How do you feel about our list?
I feel good about it. Interesting that you called the first story, which we'll get into, one about media companies, when really we want to give a disclaimer. We're not attacking other podcast hosts, but we will talk about how their companies are unwelcoming to their employees. We're talking about Alex Cooper and Mr. Beast.
Just everything repeats. 10 years ago, 2016, every company was like a direct-to-consumer internet commerce company, and all of them went fast with no HR department. Oh no, their young founder didn't know how to actually run a company. Doesn't mean they're not creative and interesting, just not meant to run a company. And I see that playing out again right now with some of these new media companies. Unfortunately, because I'm excited about all of these companies.
You're excited about Mr. Beast?
No, but I'm excited about people finding their own ways. People like, Unwell Media or Don Lemon's media company or what Katie Couric has done with her media company. I am into people building their own ventures because the world of corporate media is getting weirder and weirder. But you should have an HR department or someone to run your office who knows how to do that.
I thought you were going to include us on that list, but we haven't made it yet. Yeah, okay. Well, there two stories came out this week. One was a lawsuit against Mr. Beast's company, and another was a series of allegations against Alex Cooper's company, Unwell. Both, about how they have toxic work environments where they're really unprofessional. In Alex Cooper's company, yelling, toxic work environment, tremendous staff turnover, people leaving because of the pressure of working there. And in Mr. Beast's company, there was a pregnancy discrimination lawsuit filed that really details a pretty boys club type environment that we've seen in the past. And I would say that one really, so certainly like what you said is true. Like these companies, they start off with these very popular celebrity centered brands and they grow very quickly. They get massive infusions of money from private equity and other sources. And the goal is to grow while they're as hot as brands and grow as quickly as possible. And so steps are sort of skipped. And both of these companies did something in common that is really a bad move, which is the celebrities in question appointed family members to run their company. So in Alex Cooper's case, she appointed her husband. In Mr. Beast's case, he appointed his cousin. And shockingly, both are at the center of these allegations from their employees.
Absolutely shocking.
Absolutely shocking.
But there was also just recently Selena Gomez's mental health startup that her mother was running. There were complaints from employees too.
Not good.
This is not when WeWork was going in for the IPO. One of the main things the SEC was like, was about all of the family members with jobs.
Yeah, and in fact, in my practice, I hear a lot of that. Particularly clients who work for very public-facing companies with, run by either big personalities or very wealthy individuals who appoint family members. There's just a ton of problems. I could give you a whole list of them, including some very prominent ones in New York where there's just major issues caused by a son or a wife, and so I would say companies have nepotism policies for a reason because it doesn't really work. I mean, if a wife or a cousin's making a bad decision running the company, employees are not going to question it. They're going to feel trapped. They're going to feel like they have nowhere to go, and they're going to leave, or they're going to go out and sue you, or they're going to, go to the media and leak it rather than come talk to you about it. It's a bad decision. And also, in many cases, these people aren't qualified. And they come in and maybe they try and implement some things they do in a totally unrelated, smaller business on a grander scale.
Passing down of a company work if it's a public company. Like Ralph Lauren, David Lauren is one of the people that runs it, which I've always heard great things about him as an operator. I'm not trying to impugn him with these other people. But how does that work in a public company? Well,
usually in a public company, I mean, and particularly if it's a high-profile position, I mean, it would have to be something vetted by the board, or it'd have to be something that it would have to be a decision made independently.
I guess they probably, even though it's a public company, they probably own a lot of the stock. So,
well, I don't think that was just Ralph saying he's the best one, take him, but David happens to be very qualified and very smart, and I'm sure that this decision was run by a number of people in the company before it was settled upon. I would hope it goes through that sort of rigorous process where other independent people are making the decisions and not, the related family members. And some policies are like that, anti-nepotism policies, where they say, they have to be in unrelated lines of management or unrelated lines of business or something like that. We're also in a time, I would say, where it's generally disfavored. I mean, you look at the administration and all the different family members involved and how poorly people perceive that. So,
don't buy this. You may say it's poorly perceived, but they're all making away with billions of dollars off the backs of Americans. So I actually think the current environment is very permissive when it relates to it.
Well, it doesn't mean people like it. It means that
people are fine with it.
I don't think people are fine with it. I mean, I don't think people are fine with it at all. I mean, there's a reason why
the Trumps are going to have any, actual downside to making billions of dollars on crypto bullshit while he's in office.
Absolutely, I think they will. I absolutely
We're betting.
And fine.
We're going to bet.
Fine.
What are we betting?
I'll bet you a dozen Aperol spritzes that they will.
Bet you a steak dinner.
A dozen.
Steak dinner.
Golden steer?
Dinner. Yeah.
Golden steer.
Steer.
Okay. All right.
That as much as emolument-tastic as this is, they're never going to see any downside.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Well, I would say it's something you'd want to keep out of your company, and to the extent you do have it in your company, you should build safeguards. You should, make sure people understand why the family member is involved, and if there are issues, where they could go, and have, various complaint channels available for companies so it doesn't blow up into a big public disaster.
How many employees do you think a company needs to have for it to make sense to invest in an HR department?
Ooh, good question. It really depends. I mean, it depends on what they do, and where people are and things like that. Usually when I have this
10 or more.
I mean, look, if you're a smaller company, you could get away with doing HR through like your payroll provider or something like that. They offer HR services.
Okay.
But if you have more than like 25 employees, you should have someone there, especially if they're in one place. And so you'd like to have someone on site, you'd like to have someone available, someone who can take the pulse and the temperature and tell the CEO what's really going on. So it's one of the toughest decisions for startups because most founders think that they have the best sense of people and hiring people and managing people and when people are performing and not. And the reality is they have some of those things, but not all of them. And there's reasons why an HR professional is a job that is important, and so I would say you should really, if you're a founder, you should be thinking of it really early on, and you should acknowledge the fact that people are not going to have difficult discussions with you, and they're not going to come to you and say, hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. Can you help me?
Also realize that you might be the greatest inventor and visionary on X topic, but you might not be the best manager. Like, those things often don't go together.
Right. Elon Musk, did you hear that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, there was a meme someplace today that was a picture of J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and Gavin Newsom in high school. Let me say one of these people was very handsome, and two of these people were not. And different hairlines. Very different hairlines. Like, I'm just saying, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yes, might be evil and the first trillionaire, but also those hair implants.
Oh, you don't like that?
No.
Was J.D. Vance seated on a couch, or was he mobile?
He was mobile. He had more like a bowl cut, like a.
It's a tough one. Tough cut. Tough choice.
Yep.
Yeah, that Midwestern lifestyle was really tough on him.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, Labor Secretary. There is yet another female member of the Trump cabinet getting pushed out. What's happening with the Labor Secretary?
Yeah, so another repeat topic here on Across the Bar is Labor Secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer, who and her antics sort of finally catching up with her. She's been accused of many things over her short tenure as Labor Secretary, including an affair with a member of her security detail, being drunk at work, frequently traveling instead of
people. I know you and I are drinking on our podcast.
Yeah, we're drinking literally right now.
What the fuck with all of these Trump people being drunk at work? This was not an issue in any other White House that I remember hearing about.
Well, let's be careful. Allegedly being drunk at work. You don't want Kash Patel coming and suing the Across the Bar podcast. Allegedly. Even though we all saw him chug a beer after the hockey game like an idiot. But it's not just limited to that. She also frequently went on vacations that we paid for, and also took family members on vacations that we paid for. And the craziest allegation is that her husband was literally barred from entering the Department of Labor because he was sexually harassing Labor Department employees. So, I guess someone finally had enough of that.
Yes.
And
see, that's the problem here. I want to make a bigger deal about all the women getting pushed out, but they're all such terrible women. So I do still want to call out that there are terrible men who are not getting pushed out of their jobs. But this is talk about deplorable.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, I used to rib you about this when you said it's only the women, and now it's been 3 in a row. There's certainly men who've done things that we've heard about, allegedly did things that we've heard about.
Including David Goldberg from The Atlantic on a text thread. We know that happened.
Yeah, we saw that, and there's the repeated embarrassments of Pete Hegseth. There's the repeated embarrassments of Howard Lutnick, their Kash Patel. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
so
This video.
who's your money on for the next one? Is it who do you, the Tulsi Gabbard, or do you have Lutnick? Those are the two most Tulsi.
There's a lot of rumors about Lutnick right now, but I think it'll be Tulsi first. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll probably be Tulsi first, I think,
Yeah.
if it's going to be. But who knows? But look, again.
But this is another case of, while she was embarrassing herself plenty on her own, this is another case of an employee's, of the leader's spouse, like, making things worse for everyone.
Certainly. And as we said before about this situation and these situations, in any company, this behavior would not be tolerated, and these people would all be out a long time ago. Now, don't run your company like this government's being run right now. If you know you have a problem, if people have evidence of it, investigate it, take swift action. That's important. It's the best thing you could do as a leader is promptly address workplace issues.
Absurd. Bad behavior. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're upset.
People
I
need
could
to be
tell.
getting work done. They don't seem to be. Okay, so
Yeah.
Meta is tracking keystrokes of employees to try to train AI better. That would creep me out so much.
Do you think they're telling the truth?
That's the only reason they're looking at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No, of course not. That's a case of AI washing, if I ever saw it.
Yeah. I mean, AI washing can be used in so many different ways. Like, hey, we're going to track you, but not to fire you, but to train your replacement potentially. Or,
Train
in this case,
is real.
yeah, I mean, for sure. And we'll talk a little bit more about it in our next topic. But if you're an employee and you get this message from your company, I mean, sure, is it training the model on how people work? Sure. But it's also training the model on how you work. And that can't be great for morale. But companies like Meta, from what I can tell, they don't really care too much about employee morale. They're still a destination
the stock
employer.
price will take care of everything. And you know what? For the time being, it probably is.
Yeah, they're still a destination employer, just given the magnitude and scope.
But they're doing a massive layoff, another one. And there are people out there saying it's AI washing also, the layoff.
Well, I think so too. I definitely think so. I mean, and we've talked about this in the past, which is this practice of announcing huge layoffs and then not announcing the huge amount of hiring that happens in the months afterwards. And in this case, Meta announcing its intention to lay off about 10% of its workforce, around 8,000 workers, and they don't talk about to further invest in AI. So this is a case where they're not saying we're replacing these people with AI. They're saying we want to free up some money to invest in AI. I mean, with the amount of money they have, that reason on its own is just like bullshit, right? We can see that. But in the next couple of months, I'm sure we'll hear a lot about people going to Meta to work on AI and other initiatives. I mean,
wait, what makes there's another company, MSN, I think, that just announced big buyouts.
Right.
What's the difference? Why would a company do buyouts rather than layoffs?
Right. So buyouts are a little different. They're offering you the choice as the employee to decide whether you want to resign for essentially a severance package. Mm-hmm. And this is a practice that companies used to do a lot because, first of all, it's a good thing. It's a humane thing to do if you know you have to make cuts, to offer it and see maybe there are some people who want to leave. Or want to retire or whatever. As you know, if you're at will and you just want to resign, it doesn't always entitle you to severance. In fact, most cases it does not. So this is a scenario where you could say, I want to leave and I'll get severance. And, if you were planning to leave anyway, that's a great thing, right? And you could save your colleague's job.
Being a good guy? Like, what is the benefit of the company doing that?
I mean, part of it is being humane, but the bigger part of it is reducing liability. And so I would always say this to managers, let's reduce our liability. You know, if you're concerned about someone not coming back after a leave, maybe they'll take this package and you'll never have to deal with the issue. Or if someone doesn't like coming into the office and they want to move, maybe they'll just take this and go somewhere else. And so that's the primary reason, is to really narrow down the number.
Companies like, we need to cut our workforce by 1,000. Why are they going to do a buyout rather than a layoff?
Yeah, so that they could do that, and then they can also, for the reasons I just discussed, and then they usually reserve the right to say, even if you apply, we make the final decision. So if everyone in a single job category says they want to leave, they get to choose which ones they want to accept and which ones they want to keep.
I mean, that always feels so risky to me because of that, because you could put in to want a buyout and they could say, not you right now, but good to know you're not that interested in staying here. And it could get used against you.
Right. And so that's part of, now that I'm on the other side of the table advising employees on these things, that is the question. Do you raise your hand and what do you say? And really what I advise people to say is like, I potentially have other options, or I want to help save other people's jobs or whatever. And then let them tell you to stay. Don't say anything bad about the company. Don't say anything bad about your job. Just like talk about how you feel that you could be confident doing something else and see how it goes. But also in these situations, there are some managers, like, they'd like to encourage certain people to put in for buyouts. And so they look and see, what comes in. And then maybe the few people they were looking at didn't raise their hands, and they want to know how they could talk to those people and potentially encourage them. And frankly, they can do that, and I always tell managers in that situation to be careful and, don't be, forceful, but ultimately don't force them, because then the voluntary aspect goes away. But
And does the employee have any claim to stand on if they suddenly get pushed out and it's called a buyout? Like, what?
Potentially, like if you, the situation it usually comes up in is like some very senior employee, and you're hoping that maybe they finally want to retire, and so you can replace them, and they don't raise their hands, and you go to them and you say, have you taken a look at this? What are your thoughts? And they may say something, and then you could say, well, is there something we could do to make it more attractive to you? If you're the employee in that situation, it definitely feels crappy to be singled out that way.
Yeah.
But also it gives you some leverage, because you could say, well, I wasn't really thinking about it, but what would you be willing to do to sweeten the pie for me? Or the pot for me. And I think if the company wants you to go, they'll do something. They have more flexibility to do it in that situation than a layoff situation. But it's a dance, it's a tango.
Yeah.
But I applaud Microsoft for doing it.
Yes.
Because
Agreed.
that way. Mm-hmm. Because we've talked about the companies who don't even care about their employees. Fire them by email at 6:30 in the morning.
Is that Satya Nadella? Is that still the CEO at Microsoft?
Yes.
Good job, Satya.
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so I had a client the other day explain to me that his AI agent that he had, vibe coded a little bit, but his AI agent on the platform he was working on told him that the idea that he was sharing with us was groundbreaking. And he was like...
Groundbreaking?
Using it as
wow.
a proof. Nicest man ever. But he was like, the AI told me it was groundbreaking. And it was like, did it? And that is, I think, like a funny thing when your boss or client or someone is a little boomer about AI, and they're like, hey, believing the compliments from the AI platform, or, being like, well, it has to be true. It was on AI. If you're going to use AI at work and talk about it, be up on it a little bit, is my opinion. Like, look at the Reddit site, see what people are saying, so you don't come off dippy.
Sure, and also be aware of how the words are going to land and be perceived by the people you're talking to. And we're talking about this because Rachel Carton, who has a fantastic newsletter called
Yes.
Lincoln Bio, wrote a piece about how these boomer AI bosses are insulting the people who work for them or ruining their own reputations with people who work for them, demoralizing them by this heavy push with AI, where people are coming to their managers with original ideas, in this case in the marketing area, with really original ideas, and their managers are like, did you put this through AI? As if AI is so original. It's just like taking other people's ideas. And in the creative world is viewed as sort of anti-creative, and it's causing people to leave jobs. And
People need to be a little less precious and butthurt about things. Like the fact that Reese Witherspoon got so attacked for saying other women should be trying AI.
Oh yeah, that
That's
was
just
terrible.
real. You do need to be trying this and see what works.
Right.
And
But
people, media, when plenty of editors were like, I will never use the internet. How did that work out for them?
yeah. Well, I mean, look, you don't need to take extreme positions on anything. But if you're a boss, I mean, you have to look at what's going on right now in society, where younger people and employees don't have positive views of AI and feel very threatened by it, and also are very excited about like launching their own careers. And to have a boss just be like, well, all you have to do is just type into AI, you don't have to do anything yourself, like that's demoralizing. It makes you feel like you're training again, like we said before, training your replacement. Right? Like that's what you're doing.
Like, I also think people need to grow up and be realistic about what is happening. Like, just because your boss points out a truth to you doesn't make it less true or like less something you should be aware of.
That is probably good advice.
Sorry.
I would say that is good advice. So you're saying I need to be less sensitive when like potential clients, I mean like crazy things generated by AI, and just be like,
totally. You need to be like,
roll with it.
You got to roll with it because
Roll
this
with
is
it.
what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I saw some this week with legal claims I've never even heard of in my life, and I don't know. I'm not in a positive AI week, so let's just say that. So let's say that.
Then let's get to zeros and heroes. What's your zero?
All right. Well, my zero, oh God. My zero is associated with the White House Correspondents' Dinner this week.
First time I'm not going in years.
Yeah.
I carry on without
I heard people are very upset that you're not going.
There's
You
an
should be there.
outcry.
I'm sure the big man's going to have some major bombs to be dropping on that meeting. My zero is
Other places.
Yeah, my zero is CBS for having Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller featured at their table. Come on.
They're
Come on.
specifically terrible people, but it's normal for networks to have people from the administration. They just chose two of the worst ones.
I mean,
like CBS News has been having people from administrations to
it's
their table
gross.
for decades.
It's gross.
Just the ones they chose are like.
I don't even know how you defend the Stephen Miller pick, to be honest. Guy literally lives on a military base because
So many people want to
he's so threatened. But I can't even imagine sitting eating with him, frankly, and looking at him for more than a second.
No.
Here.
You know his wife's famous line, like, liberal men are not hot. And, like, it's not that that's what it's all about, but, like, wow, being married to Stephen Miller and thinking conservative men are hotter.
Wow, taking on another fellow podcaster. There you go.
Yeah. No, I did, yeah.
Yeah? Wow. Who's your zero?
My zero at this point is Nick Fuentes and how much he seems to be like getting himself finagled into various different like legitimate media platforms and rooms. Like, I bet you he's going to be around this weekend at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Is that his fault or the platform's?
Well, I mean, it's his fault that he's a warmongering anti-Semite. Yes.
Yes.
And racist.
Agreed.
But it is some of these platforms and people on the far right who dance with this devil. And people on the far left. Horseshoe theory is real. that what are they doing? Also, you know my other zero is? Sorry, I've got two. I am all for anybody right now who is coming up and saying like, ooh, I shouldn't have voted for Trump. This is not working out well. Bully for you. Welcome to the vote. But I do think there are a lot of people missing that Tucker Carlson is basically saying he was not as conservative as I wanted him to be. So like all of the liberals watching things and being like, look, Tucker Carlson even realized. Tucker Carlson is basically saying he is not running this country like the theocracy I thought he would. How is he using blasphemy on Easter? And he's not as America First. Maybe that's more substantive. But I do think it's different from Marjorie Taylor Greene, in my opinion, her saying, like, you said you were going to follow up on Epstein. You didn't. Not okay. This is like, Tucker Carlson is like, I thought you were going to be worse, more reactionary in some ways. So you didn't live up to what I wanted. What do you think of that?
I mean, another person I really don't care much for, and I wish would just go away.
To him.
No, of course. I mean, he doesn't have the same, like, the thing with him is, as popular as he still may seem, he does not have the platform that he had when he was on Fox, and he needs to say things that are explosive like this to stay in the sphere of attention. Okay, like, and I've had massive problems with him for a while, and I've pointed it out to people who literally go to events and do things with him, and you know, everybody's like so surprised that he's like so against Israel and so against. I mean, give me a break. I mean, these people, whether it's him or whether it's the person he's criticizing, the only people they care about are themselves. Like, if you just remember that, it's very easy to deal with them. And Tucker Carlson does not care about the well-being of Americans generally. That's not something he cares about, and that's not what he's apologizing about. He's just doing it for more attention.
So my hero is aligned. My hero is that The Onion is now officially, finally going to own Alex Jones' InfoWars. Everything went through, and all of the money and programming will now go to support Sandy Hook families and I believe other gun safety people in the gun safety world. But that is just, talk about somebody who is no longer relevant. Alex Jones, InfoWars will no longer be able to spew disgusting, horrible hatred, throwing salt in the wounds of people who are mourning. It is going to be owned by The Onion, and I love that.
Yeah, Onion's awesome.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. I mean, look at how far the Onion's come. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
My hero's a repeat, I think. But last night, the bar that I have a very tiny investment in, Sip and Guzzle, was named the #1 bar in North America.
That was last year, too. You talked about it.
Well, last year was #5. This year was #1.
What?
Which was crazy.
You still have never invited me there, I want to point out.
Oh, really? I was just there Monday night. It was quite nice. I sat down and they put a Negroni right on the table as I sat down, which was, I guess, one of the perks.
I was sitting here alone. Fine, don't invite me.
Okay. Well, now it'll be tougher to get in, even for me. But congratulations to the whole team. I got the hat right up on the shelf, if you see it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the hat right on the shelf. And it's an incredible honor and recognition. And, you know, we'll see where the world ranking ends up being. But big night. All right.
I think that's our show.
I think that is our show. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone, for...
Thank you, Sadie Rahbar.
For editing and producing. And thanks for watching and listening to Across the Bar. Send us questions, yes, and comments. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, Peter.